gentlemen, welcome back to Tech Showdown. My name is Kevin, this is my co-host Teddy, and today we're doing a gaming mouse showdown, something I haven't done for a while. So it's going to be the Logitech G302 going up against its successor, the Logitech G303. Now, I did the Logitech G302, which I've left unplugged for you guys, so you can always see the difference. I did this review a little while ago, and I really did like this mouse, and this is actually my personal gaming mouse that I've been using. So I'm in quite a good position to test the 303 against it because I'm so used to the 302 by now. Now let's first talk about some of the things they share. So they both have the metal spring tensioning system on the right and left click. It's quite hard to describe for you guys, but it just feels really good. You get such great feedback with it. It's just a really nice click. Has it on the fly DPI adjusted right behind the scroll wheel. 6 programmable buttons. Weighs 87 grams, so quite good, quite on the low side of things. Size-wise coming in at 115 millimeters by 65 millimeters by 37 millimeters, and they're coming with a 2-year warranty. Now, design-wise, they're obviously the same, exact same design, just different lighting on the 303. So design-wise, I still really do like it. My opinion hasn't changed. It's a small mouse, it's light, it's quite angular, and it's quite minimalistic for the most part. I mean, it's not, really fancy. I know the lighting on the 303 makes it stand out. This is RGB lighting, which I do really like. It does liven it up a bit, but it still is quite a minimalistic design at its core. Now, one thing I did find funny with the 302, which obviously carries over to the 303, is that it looks quite ambidextrous in its design. It's the same. Yet they put the forward and back buttons on the left-hand side, which makes it a right-hand only mouse. Yeah, a bit strange. Kind of seems like they were going to go for an ambidextrous design, and then at the last minute they changed their mind. But yeah, so that was just an interesting thing I observed. Now, comfort-wise, now this is something I had a problem with when I did my Logitech G302 review. And it's that I find that the rear of the mouse is too fat. So it just doesn't really, for me personally, it doesn't cradle my hand that well. The G502 I thought was a much more comfortable mouse than the 302 or the 303, and that still stands. The 502 I find much more comfortable. If they just slim this down a little bit, I thought it would be a little bit better. But for the most part, I didn't think the comfort was really that good on the 302, and that goes for 303 as well. However, I don't think it's really bad either. It's just okay in terms of comfort. Now, accuracy and sensitivity. So, in the Logitech G302, you got a 4000 DPI sensor, which I thought was quite good at the time. I did say that for some people that might not be enough. Some people that like to run really high DPI. Mine usually stays, depending on the games, between 2000 and 3000 type area. But yeah, I said it might not be enough for some people out there. But I still really like the sensor, and I still thought it was really good. Now, the G303 has the G502 sensor in it, so the 12,000 DPI sensor, which I thought, I really loved the G502, as you guys know, and I thought this was a really good sensor. Obviously it can go up a lot higher. I'm not going anywhere near as high, so for this I was testing them running the exact same DPI setting, so I set it to a 2500 flat, and then use them. Now, there is a bit of a difference, but it's not really that huge. The 303, the sensor in it, it's really hard for me to describe for you guys. It just feels a little bit like tighter or a little bit cleaner to use. But that's about it. It's just a little bit better, and it's something I would usually, go back to whenever I'd be using my 302, and then I'd use a 502, and then I'd be like, oh, this feels just a little bit better. But yeah, it's not the hugest of things, but it is just something to mention. So yeah, really good sensor in both of these, but the 303 one is a slight bit better, just like the 502 sensor was really good as well. Now, buttons in the scroll wheel, so obviously these are unchanged on these guys. They're the exact same. As I said before, the right and left click are absolutely fantastic. Probably the best ones I've ever used in terms of feedback and feel. They just feel really, really good. The scroll wheel is okay, not the best one I've used. Way better than G302, which I thought had probably one of the worst scroll wheels I've ever used on a gaming mouse. This one's just pretty standard, nothing out of the ordinary, just average. I didn't think it was really good, but it wasn't really bad as well. The overall, like using these side buttons are quite good. They're high and out of the way, you don't accidentally hit them. The DPI button as well is quite useful. I do find that quite good when jumping between different game types like MOBAs and first-person shooters. So yeah, you don't really do any accidental clicks with these guys because they have that much feedback, so I really liked that as well. And just in general, the buttons are what make these mice what they are. The 502, the 302 and the 303 just have some of the best feeling buttons, because I use the same ones, that I've ever used. They're just a really nice, really good for MOBAs, but also really good for first-person shooter games. If your local like PC or hardware store has some of these laid out, I would really recommend you go down and just have a play with them, and you'll see what I mean about the buttons. They feel really, really good. Now, as far as additional features go, they have the same software, obviously, Logitech software, which I think is way better than Corsair software. It might be a bit too basic for some people out there, but I'd rather it be a bit too basic than too complicated like the Corsair one. So that's quite good. It's very straightforward, very easy to use. Setting up the RGB lighting is very easy, and I just thought it was really good, setting increments for how you want the DPI to change and all that fun stuff. It's really good. Another thing I have to mention is that the 303 has this braided cable, where the 302 has a rubber cable. Now, you guys might think that's kind of a minuscule thing, but yeah, my 302 cable has already split in one area of the rubber. So that's not really that ideal, and a braided cable, I've never seen that happen. So it is a good thing, because my 302 cable has already started to split a little bit, just a little bit in one area. So yeah, jumping in the braided cable is quite good. Which brings us now to the conclusion. So what do you get on the 303 that you don't get on the 302? So basically, you get the RGB lighting, you get the sensor out of the 502, which I thought was really, really good, and it is a nice step up over the 302 sensor, and you get a braided cable, and that's about it. So I think it is a good upgrade. I mean, it's a small upgrade over the 302, but it's an upgrade nevertheless in all those areas. But the extra price it's coming with makes me wonder a bit. I think it's mainly because of the RGB lighting, but still, it makes you think, how much do you value the lighting? And of course, pricing is going to be different depending on where you live. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, if you don't care about RGB, you just don't care about it, then I'd just go with the 302. If you do care about RGB, then obviously go with the 303. That's basically what I would put it down to. Yes, there is a difference in the sensors, but I don't think it's big enough for the majority of consumers out there, unless you're using them back to back like I did, to really notice that much. So that's how I would end it for this. Go for the 303 if you want the RGB. If not, just go with the 302, and it's still a great mouse. And for that sake, I'd say these mice are pretty good for the most part for MOBA gaming. That's really what they target at. But if you want a better all-rounder gaming mouse with more features, maybe not in lighting, but other things like weighting and that, I'd say go for the 502, because I always come back to the G502 as the better all-rounder compared to the 302 or now the 303. Now, I thank you all for watching this video. Please subscribe to Tech Showdown if you haven't already, and like the video. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Tech Showdown. My name is Kevin, this is my co-host Eddie, and today we're doing a gaming mouse showdown, something I haven't done for a while. So it's going to be the Logitech G302 going up against its successor, the Logitech G303. Now, I did the Logitech G302, which I've left unplugged for you guys, so you can always see the difference. I did this review a little while ago, and I really did like this mouse, and this is actually my personal gaming mouse that I've been using. So I'm in quite a good position to test the 303.